Told it to go live. And waiting for YouTube to catch up and realize that it's live. Yep. And let's just go ahead and roll the intro, shall we? Rolling the intro. We're hot. I know. It's time to go. It's time to stream.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
RTLS chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger rolling, Atlantis.
Water towers can fly!
Yes! Tango Delta nominal.
Flight downside, speed off.
Bring in, speed off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
All right, folks. This scene may be familiar. It is a beautiful day at Vandenberg, and we are standing by for the... Oh, who am I kidding? This is a photo Jack took a couple days ago. At Vandenberg right now, it actually looks like this. John Galloway for NSF here. We're going to be doing some live stream coverage of Tranche 0, Tranche, however you pronounce it. That flight that was scheduled to go off a couple days ago, the abort at T-minus 2 seconds, problem with the Falcon 9 didn't start up as expected, caused them to delay, and here we are on a Sunday morning, foggy out there at Vandenberg, standing by for another launch attempt in just under 30 minutes. I'm not here by myself today. Of course, I've got backup in the form of Sawyer Rosenstein. Sawyer, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It feels like it's Groundhog Day a little bit, but glad that we are back on the pad and glad to see they didn't change the April Fool's pictures back.
Did we not change the April Fool's pictures back?
They were supposed to. I thought Patrick said he was going to switch them all back, but...
It is not my responsibility. Anyway, Sawyer, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Also, out in the field, we've got Mr. Jack Beyer setting up the camera, getting the feed going this morning. As always, we appreciate him. I don't know if we've got Jack on comms right now. He may be able to hear us, but not talk, or vice versa. One way or the other, Jack is out there making sure things get done. Looks like Jack's got switched back.
Yeah.
I'm here. Hi. Hello. Thanks everybody
hi.
for watching. All right,
Hey,
back
Jack.
to cameras. Bye.
All right, cool. Have fun. And then also out there today, we've got Mr. Michael Baylor again. Not 100%. We're seeing if we can't get a feed off of his auto track. We were only set up to have one camera out there, and then because of the scrub, we had the opportunity to take the auto track out there as well, but unsure if we'll be able to get that on. At least we'll get some more practice with it, and Michael will post about it on social media afterwards. Hopefully he tags NASASpaceflight. Anyways, that's the deal for today. Thank y'all for being patient as always. You can see that we started the stream exactly on time, or at least I kept changing the start time to match when I was actually going to click go live. But Sawyer, tell us a little bit about this rocket in mission that we can kind of see through the fog.
All right. Yeah, if you're looking through, you will be able to see the Falcon 9 that is carrying Tranche 0 Flight 1. And I know you're all probably wondering, what is a tranche or a tranche or tranche? Basically, it's a split or a divide, and that's how they're going to be kind of cutting this up and splitting this up into a bunch of different parts of the network that will be used to help with the U.S. Space Force. So this mission in particular will be carrying a bunch of different satellites as part of this network for the Space Development Agency and their proliferated warfighter space architecture, as it's being called. So this mission will consist of 10 satellites to start, going into essentially a polar low Earth orbit with an inclination of about 80 degrees and an altitude of about 1,000 kilometers. So in this, there will be 8 satellites that are part of a transport network, and then 2 that are part of a tracking network. So the transport is used to transport communications, and that will be done very similar to how Starlink does it with laser point-to-point communications. So the multiple satellites will eventually communicate with each other by laser until they get to their intended target, and then the other ones will be used for both ballistic and hypersonic tracking of missiles, planes, and other warfare assets on the ground.
Sounds like a party, Sawyer.
It's a party, all right. This is again the test satellites. Essentially, there will be a second launch of more satellites in May, and eventually they hope to have 200 to 300 satellites plus in the network, with the ability to have satellite coverage of at least 2 satellites in 95% of the globe and at least 1 satellite in 99% of the globe.
Gosh. So, folks, if you're just joining us again, it is a foggy day out there at Vandy. You can see just in the middle of the sort of stick-shaped rocket. It looks like the fog may actually be thickening a little bit, because when we first started this, you could see the top of the rocket, and now the top of the rocket is sort of fading into foggy nothingness. About 24 minutes before the launch here, and hopefully, well, hopefully, knock on wood, the sun burns this off a little bit, but 24 minutes is not a lot of time. Since we can see the outline of the rocket, we'll at least get a light show from it. We'll be able to see it light up whenever it takes off. And remember, this is also an RTLS today. Out there at Vandenberg, the landing site is right next to the launch site. And so the rocket will be coming back. The first stage, the booster, will be coming back down to the same spot. Hopefully we can see that as well. Hopefully we can catch the landing burn and stuff like that as we look up at an angle out of the fog some, hopefully. But this is what you get at Vandenberg. Sometimes this was actually our April Fool's joke that we didn't actually have time to do. We were literally, I'll say it. We were going to announce a new 24/7 stream that was Vandenberg Live, and it was just going to be a gray screen that never changed. We're just going to do commentary over a fixed gray block of non-video, and we ran out of resources to do that yesterday.
All right. I can't let all you East Coasters nigger away. The last several days it was nice and blue sky after the abort. It's horrible and fog. So yes, it's foggy. Yes, there's fog at Vandenberg sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And yes, there's fog this morning. It's looking like it might thin out. I don't want to make any promises, but looking at this fog bank as it's rolling to the left, it might actually be clearing out. So fingers crossed we get some better views for launch itself. In the next 5 minutes, just keep your eyes on it. You should start to see more rocket if what I'm seeing is correct. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully it works out that way, Jack. We'll see what happens with the launch. That picture, you got to take a couple pictures during remote reset or something like that, Jack. And so the other picture I have on the screen, if I'm not mistaken, was from a couple days ago. I don't remember exactly what day you were out there doing that. But this time...
That was Friday.
That was Friday. Okay. So it was beautiful out there. I mean, look at how gorgeous it was on Friday when Jack was up the hill here. This is the correct rocket and payload. You can tell there's no, what was it? There's no art on the fairing here. And Jack had asked me to maybe put the correct art on the fairing. What is it? SDA? I don't know.
Yep, SDA.
I draw
Which-
some lines on either side of it or something.
Thank you
Is
for
that
that.
better?
The Space Development Agency, because they're cool.
Okay.
They do really cool stuff. It's like the DARPA, but for space stuff specifically. I mean, these satellites are enabling a lot of really cool things, including hypersonic glide vehicle detection.
Yeah.
All kinds of interesting things. So thank you for drawing the fairing art on there. I really feel like this mission should have had fairing art, but reused fairings, it's sort of the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
And if I may point out, if you like this shot, we've got a whole bunch more exclusively for members too. So lots of Jack's photos are in the member area, the red team, and above.
Excellent. We got a whole stack. I mean, I just pulled this off of a Google Drive that Jack uploaded stuff to, and he took tons of good photos out there when the weather was beautiful, so we can all imagine what it's like when the weather's nice out there.
And while we have this up, I should point out that the booster itself is B1075-2. Its only other previous flight was the Starlink 2-4 mission.
There's so many pixels in this members photo, I feel like I could actually zoom in and see it. Maybe not quite.
You may be able to see humans for scale in some of these.
Yeah. Are there any... There's cars and stuff down there you can see. I don't see anybody working on the transporter erector right now. There's a lift. Hey, they have lifts at Vandenberg as well. Anyways, folks, we're coming up on 20 minutes. We may need to pretend that we see the T-minus 20-minute vent here. The last thing we need is for the rocket to add to the vapor in the air. But it should be happening right now. Can anybody see it?
Let's see. Usually 20 minutes and 20 seconds, so it should be starting any second now.
Yeah, right around
Actually, I
here.
can see it, believe it or
Can
not.
you see it?
Yeah, the left side of the rocket there is a little extra plume coming off the side, which, by the way, that is the lines being purged. That means that fueling is progressing as planned, and that is getting ready for second stage LOX load to begin.
All right. Hey, Jack, if you can hear me, maybe tap the exposure setting real quick. If we get a little bit more contrast, maybe we can see that. But I know it's tough. The light changes, the sun comes up and changes the look. The camera's moving. There you go. He's going to touch it. And didn't quite bring out the plume. I mean, the top of the rocket is definitely like fading into the fog right now, but still 20 minutes to go before the launch. Sawyer, how we doing on questions?
We're doing okay, I think. I was just taking a look at everything going on with the rocket and some timelines here for a second, but I can get us some questions in the queue. And don't forget, you can tag us at NASASpaceflight with all of your questions.
Yep, I can help with that as well. It looks like we just got word from SpaceX that the Stage 2 RP-1 load is complete. So SpaceX is going forwards. That's one of the things to sort of remember. The rocket doesn't particularly care that it's foggy like this, at least in terms of guiding the rocket, right? Like the rocket doesn't actually need to see where it's going. The rocket knows where it is because it knows where it isn't. Sorry. But you can actually see. Go ahead, Sawyer.
You're not wrong.
So the fog is not a launch problem here. Like they can still launch it even if we can't see the rocket. And I believe that's the same for landing as well. It's not a visual system that determines whether or not the rocket can find the landing pad. It is other systems that don't particularly care about visible light that it uses to find the LZ that's right here next to the launch pad. So those two things, even though it affects our views of the rocket, doesn't necessarily affect SpaceX's ability to hit the go button. So still counting down, 18 minutes here, and let's see if we can't get a couple questions.
Reminds me a bit of USSF-44, which actually was an East Coast when the Kennedy Space Center became Vandenberg with the fog. That one, there was great audio, but basically no visuals of the Falcon Heavy for most of that flight. So still went.
There was a super chat that came in here, Sawyer. Maybe you can help us out with the answer to this one. It was Tim C asking, what's the time from SEP to SES-1 and the distance between Falcon 9 vehicles at SES-1? And a question about Starship time distance being greater. The distance between the vehicles, I know that we could calculate with like Flight Club, because Flight Club has like the downrange distance and stuff like that. I do not know that off the top of my head, but we could go to Flight Club and look at, okay, here on the timeline is where SES-1 happens, and here on the timeline is where separation happens, and you know, how far back does the Falcon 9 booster get?
Well, there's actually a slight problem with that.
No? Yes?
Because this is a U.S. Space Force mission, and a lot of it has some classified stuff, SpaceX does not release the information beyond basically beyond SES-1, not even when shutdown is.
Gotcha. So because it is a, I guess, military mission, classified mission, important secret mission, they don't give us all the details they have, but we probably still could use something like Flight Club to sort of guess the distances, because I know Declan sometimes knows, well, if you're going to get a payload to orbit, here's sort of how you have to do it. But even those, for a mission like this, when it's not specifically published, might not be entirely accurate. So it's a great question. We'd have to go over to Flight Club and look at it, Tim, but I do not know the answer to that off the top of my head. And the same thing with Starship
add a little bit
as well.
I can add a touch more context. First off, by the way, Stage 2 LOX load has begun.
Thank you.
But we know that the estimated fairing recovery location is about 490 kilometers due south of the launch site, and that the reentry, again, will be in a polar direction just south of South Africa.
So we have those bits of information published, even though it's a classified mission. We get bits of information about the safety zones, the notice for mariners where they shouldn't have their ships because something may come falling out of the sky, and they have a fairing recovery ship out there as well. So other bits of clues, I guess, that we can bring up and sort of look at those things. But the exact times, not published, and don't know off the top of my head on that one. And then I was going to say for Starship as well. Will Starship's time distance at SES-1, we have estimates, I guess, but I don't know that the final actual trajectory information for Starship has been made public yet, has it?
I don't think it has. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. I think there were some filings that had some estimated times and stuff like that, but nothing that was here is what we're actually going to launch with yet. So same sort of thing, a good question to think about, but we don't have all of the answers. And on that one, we'll have to wait and see. Let's
Which, by the
see
way,
here.
for those wondering, I believe the fairing recovery ship for this one that is downrange is NRC Quest.
Thanks. Yeah, really, they operate out of the Port of Long Beach down there. That's where you can see these boosters come back in, and it's sort of interesting because they come back into Long Beach, and then they get put on another barge, and they get barged up to Vandenberg. They don't roll with a transporter like they do at the Cape. They just have that old shuttle transporter. At Vandenberg, we can see them bring the booster back and then lay it down and then barge it over to near the launch pad here on a different barge, and the barge comes back empty, the barge comes back full, etc., etc. So let's see
Yeah,
here.
it's pretty nifty. Although, of course, that won't be happening on this one because, like you said earlier, it's an RTLS launch. So no double barge action on this one, unfortunately. But we get the bonus of a booster coming back and landing a couple hundred yards from the launch pad. So that's going to be nice. And I posted a photo in the back channel. The fog layer, I see blue sky. I see lots and lots and lots of blue sky. There's a small little strip of fog above the launch pad itself. So Falcon 9 will climb out of this fog and be in nice blue sky. I promise it'll look cool once it launches. Thank you everybody for being patient with the fog and I'm gonna say it, the military fog machine.
Jack, is this your view from where you are currently?
Yep, I just took that photo with my phone. So the fog you are seeing is that stripe of fog, and you can even see off to the right side of the image, it's sort of tapering off. That's why I thought it was going to clear up, but it's just as it approaches the land here, I don't know if the mountains are condensing it out of the air or what, but it just gets thicker and thicker as it approaches the land. But that said, you can see all the blue sky above the launch pad, so fear not. It should look cool once it actually gets above that, if T minus 20 or T plus 20 or something like that. So.
All right. Well, that's a good sign at least, Jack. Thanks for sharing that with us. When you have the zoomed in shot here, it looks like, oh my gosh, everything is completely, you can't see anything. But that fog is just hovering over the land there. It is not, you can actually see the ocean from where Jack is right now. So hopefully this Falcon 9 climbs right out of that fog and we have great shots as soon as it clears it. And I guess maybe we'll get a Falcon 9 booster coming back into the fog bank whenever it does that RTLS here. Sawyer, can you take it away for just a second for me?
Absolutely. Let's see. We've got a couple questions here that we can tackle in the meantime. We will start with Kichi S, because I know this is a question that I'm sure a lot of people had, of what was the cause of the T-0 abort a few days ago? And the answer is, we really don't know at this point. Again, as we mentioned, this is military launch, and SpaceX nor SDA have released a full mention of the exact reason, but if we do hear anything before liftoff of what that reason was, we will let you know. Daniel B with a very clever, what is the trajectory of this launch? I appreciate that my bad jokes are now rubbing off. And this one is going polar, so this will be at an 80-degree inclination orbit, so almost directly polar, and that will basically just go due south from the launch site today. So if you have clear-ish skies, you might be able to see a little something along the coast of Southern California, but just worth keeping an eye out. Matt asking, will there be a boost back burn? And I think this is a good time to kind of explain what we'll expect to see after launch. So after the separation of the first and second stage, That is when the rocket will do a flip maneuver, and then it will begin its boost back burn. After it does the boost back burn, the grid fins will deploy, and then it will start its trajectory down. It will then have an entry burn that will happen about 6 minutes or so into flight. And that entry burn will basically use fire to slow itself down. So it'll use its own engines to go into the flames, through the fire and flames for all of the Guitar Hero 3 fans,
Huh.
and eventually slow itself down to where it will just use the thick atmosphere till it makes its final landing burn and hopefully touches down safely back at LZ4.
If you have trouble remembering exactly how the Falcon 9 does those burns, we've got a shirt.
Hey!
We have the launch entry landing shirt. I have to do it. I have to bring it up on the stream. We've actually got the illustration of the phase of Falcon 9 flight and which engines are lit. Of course, for launch, you got all 9 engines. That's why it's called a Falcon 9. And then during the entry, it's got the 3 engines there, and you can actually see the supersonic retro propulsion or whatever. And then during landing, it's got the one burn. But we've got that on shirts, a couple different colors and stuff. What is this? It's a nice gray shirt. Oh, it's got the new logo too.
All
Nice.
of the shirts now should have the new logo
I
at
know.
shop.nasaspaceflight.com.
Anyways, it's another way to support what we do, folks. I know super chats and stuff come in. You're just there. You're in the membership program, whatever it is. But there are all sorts of ways to support what we do, and some of them actually clothe you. So you can have clean clothes to wear, buy enough shirts, and you don't even have to do laundry for an entire week.
Not that that's what I've done or anything. No, not at all.
It's a legitimate strategy. It's like, do I need more socks? Nope, I'm gonna buy more socks and not wash these. I guess we don't have socks. You have to do that with T-shirts. Please don't do it with mugs. Just
Oh,
wash the
gosh.
dishes. You'll attract roaches and stuff. 8 minutes and 50 seconds, folks, before the launch here. SpaceX again. If you're just joining us, going for the launch of Tranche 0, that shared satellite. They're launching 10 satellites for the SDA, the Space Development Agency, headed to a polar orbit out of Vandenberg today. It's going to be headed down south along the coast. We've been talking a little bit about the fog, and the fog is clear in every direction except for the launch pad. So we're hoping that this rocket's going to climb right out of the fog. Shortly after liftoff, we'll be able to see the flash, and hopefully we get some great views. Jack's photo shows that it's beautiful everywhere, and the fog is just loitering around the launch pad. We got another question, Sawyer? We got time for more questions, I think.
Sure, we could take a few more while we're at it. Here's one. You know I love my stats and numbers with these. David Kenny asking, if successful, how many RTLS landings will this be? Well, oddly, this will only be the 9th RTLS landing at Vandenberg, but there have been plenty of SpaceX launches, so you ready for the numbers? This will be the 22nd Falcon 9 family flight this year, 220th overall, and first of the month. This will be the 183rd overall recovery of an orbital class first stage for SpaceX, if you count RTLS and ocean landings. I would have to look the exact number total of RTLS, but there's your fun number facts for this mission.
All right.
Let's see. I guess we could. We have a few more here, Doss.
Yeah, we do have a couple more questions. Yeah, could you send us a photo of what you were talking about?
Yeah, it should be showing up right now. I have never seen this before ever at Vandenberg. So there is a train station right near Slick 4, and it is called Surf Beach. And
Yeah.
they do not allow the public to be there for launches because it's too close to the pad. I think it's out of the exclusion zone technically, but for evacuation purposes, they don't allow people to be there.
Yeah.
Well, that said, there is currently a surfliner train chugging along. Hang on, here, let me pan the camera.
Well, while he's doing that, I will mention that engine chill has started.
Thanks,
Chugging
Sawyer.
along. Where is it? There it is. What are you doing, Amtrak?
Going towards the launch site?
That's a new one. We've had wayward boats,
Yeah,
we've
it
had
looks like-
wayward planes, now wayward trains.
And it's going for it. I mean, it's proceeding towards the launch pad along the coast here. But you can see it through the fog. That's a good sign, at least. And we're at T minus 5 minutes and 50 seconds right now, y'all.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the next major milestone that we will be seeing as we just get confirmation that stage 1 RP1 load is complete, that's the rocket grade kerosene, is that we should, in about a minute or so, start seeing the strong back retract away from the vehicle. Unlike at the Kennedy Space Center, where it's barely noticeable, it's actually a few more degrees here at Vandenberg that you'll be able to see it unclamp away from the fairing and slowly retract back a bit before it fully throws back at T0.
I'm drawing on the screen real quick, y'all. Jack is over here across the valley. Jack is sort of looking in this direction. When he just panned the camera towards the train, he was looking over here. That train actually runs along the beach right here, this surf beach. There's actually that train stop. Like, you can get on and off the train right there. And that train is currently seemingly slowing down at the surf beach stop, which is some
Yeah.
small distance away from the pad. Is it slowing down there, Jack?
It looks like it's stopping at Surf Beach. Yeah.
I'm gonna measure the
I
distance
wonder-
right now. Oh,
I
Surf
wonder if
Beach.
anyone's going to get off the train, like to watch the launch. Like I've always wanted to see a launch from Surf Beach. Always, it would be such a cool spot to see a launch. And I guess Amtrak is hooking people up to.
It's
And they're
about
going to try and scoot along after this. Like they have to. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
yeah, it's about 3.5 miles away. So it's not like they're like 200 feet away from the pad or anything like that. But that train is stopping right there at the Surf Beach station, which is about 3.5 miles away from the area. You can see there's an entire, like, the Ocean Park, the Lompoc Surf Station right there on the Pacific Surfliner, apparently, is what we're looking at. But under 4 minutes to go, the train has stopped. They must know what they're doing. They're okay to be there. And wait,
And we should be getting strong back retracting any second now.
don't
It should
shoot.
already have been underway.
All right, Jack, we probably should go back to the rocket now at T minus 3.5 minutes, if you could, please.
And of note, with these fairings, even though they may not have a name on it or anything like that, we do know that these have oddly flown more times. Each of the fairing halves have flown more times than the booster itself. The fairing halves, one is flying for the 6th time, the other is flying for the 4th time, and this booster is only flying for its 2nd.
Excellent. Again, folks, you can see the train just fine as Jack just panned a few degrees, well, quite a few degrees over to the right. This fog is just hanging out above the land where the launch pad is. Hasn't really burned off much in the last 20 minutes or so. We will definitely see the rocket launch. We'll hear we'll see the flash of the engines, and it's going to very rapidly climb out of this fog. The skies above the pad are pretty blue. Clear right now. Jack sent us a photo earlier, and we should get great shots of this thing flying and coming back. It's just the fog right around the land itself that is causing a little bit of visibility problems.
2.5 minutes to go. We are now getting confirmation that stage 1 LOX load is complete. And no, that's not my breakfast this morning. That is the liquid oxygen, or as we now like to call it, LOXygen.
Loxygen. Thank you, Sawyer.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
Hey, Jack, if you're having trouble seeing your screen out there, it's framed a little high right now. Like the Sawyer is almost just off the bottom, but we are at 2 minutes even right now.
Yep. So the next major call out that we should get will be at T minus 1 minute, and that will be that Falcon 9 is in startup, where the onboard flight computers take control of the mission, and that is also at that point, where my words go, that is when all the tanks will begin pressurization up to flight levels.
All right, and reports from Michael in the field. Michael has his auto track online, but we are not going to be able to pipe that into the stream today. Michael was setting things up and did get auto track set to record, but we don't have a live feed off of Michael's auto track today. So I had mentioned that earlier, that we may or may not get both feeds, and we will get some video after the fact there, including the little telemetry that Michael has from the tracking, but we will be recording that. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the field mics as we cross into T minus 60 seconds, folks.
Yep.
And I'm going to jump off comms, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Thanks for
All
watching,
right.
everybody.
Good luck, Jack. Have a good track.
All right, and then the other major milestone, Falcon 9, we have confirmation is in startup, and the tanks are being pressurized for flight. The next call out will be at T-minus 45 seconds when the launch director should verify that we are go for launch. So standing by for that official confirmation. There we go, we have it. Go for launch.
Excellent. T-minus 30 seconds. Remember, folks, it takes a little bit of time for the sound to reach us, so you will see the light of the launch long before we hear the sound of the launch. But we
Now,
will... Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, we're going to look for that green flash at the bottom of the rocket, which we did see on the first attempt, but we're also then going to wait to see the 9 engines light. That green flash is called T-tab. That's what ignites those engines in a few seconds.
Here we go. Launch is a go.
Rainbirds. There we go, we have liftoff. Into the fog, but the proliferation of warfighting assets will grow as the fog hopefully thins. And as Das mentioned, we will now wait for that beautiful launch audio to reach our mics at the press site. Now, that's maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle with the insanely loud launch audio there.
Could y'all hear it?
How could you not hear it? I may be deaf now, but deaf by rockets, I'll take it.
Wow, we'll switch over to the SpaceX camera here, but what happens sometimes is the fog actually helps transmit the sound, and that sounded amazing today.
Oh, yes. We are now coming up on a few major milestones that'll happen in rapid succession in about the next 15 to 20 seconds here. That's MECO, so first stage main engine cutoff. Then the stages will separate, and the second stage engine ignition will begin, SES1, followed a few seconds later by the boost back burn beginning. So stand by for that any second now. There's MECO. We have separation confirmed. And we should... There we go. Boost back burn is underway.
And look at this.
There's the boost back burn.
From Jack's fantastic tracking shot, you can see the interaction of the plumes. Literally 2 sets of rocket engines firing at each other. And Jack here, it looks like he's following the booster returning. The second stage is going to continue on, but this is an RTLS, y'all. The booster is headed back to the LZ, which is only 400 and something meters away. Let's see, I think Alex told me the exact number is like 431 meters or something like that just a little bit ago. But long story short, it's coming back to the launch site.
Yeah, I love when you can see the distinct stages as they separate away. Absolutely beautiful. So the we should have had the fairing deployment, which again we will not be able to see anything from the second stage.
Yep.
As a result, at the request of the customer.
And this is the rocket actually going behind its own plume right now. Jack continuing a constant rate trek with all the experience of somebody who's done this quite a few times. Top of the screen, Jack. You still got it. It exited top of the screen.
Yep. And the boost back burn has completed. The next one will be the first stage entry burn at about 6 minutes and 10 seconds into flight. You can now see those grid fins deploying, which besides always making me want to have waffles for breakfast, will help steer the vehicle once it's into the thicker part of the atmosphere.
Yep, got some ice falling off there. That's perfectly normal. Ice forms in different places, and as the rocket goes through its maneuvers, it cracks off and goes floating through the atmosphere. Did anybody see that thing moving away at T plus 4 minutes?
Totally normal, and no, not aliens. We don't show the alien part of the feat. I mean, what?
All right, so again, this is video from the first stage coming back down towards the LZ, which is right next to the launch pad. Jack is continuing to scan the skies for it, and as soon as Jack reacquires it, we should get the entry burn here, right, Sawyer?
In a bit, we just hit apogee, by the way. We were at 120 kilometers. It is now going down as the speed is increasing. So that was the top peak of its ascent, which means now it is descending back towards the launch site, or landing site, or both.
That's one of the, if you lose it, I've tracked a couple of these RTLSs, and if you lose it, it's hard to keep track of the tiny stage coming back, but you can watch for the entry burn. And then all of a sudden there's this bright point of light in the sky that catches your eye. Like you can see it right there. You know where to look again. And sometimes if you can catch it during the entry burn, you can continue to track it the rest of the way down right now. So I know Jack has his eyes peeled looking skyward, seeing if he can get a view of that entry burn.
Yep, and that entry burn should be occurring in about 45 seconds or so.
All right, good deal.
It'll be a little bit delayed. As you can see, the SpaceX stream is slightly delayed from ours by a few seconds, so that's why the clocks look off, but in actuality, ours is correct with real time.
Yeah, it takes a couple seconds for that feed to get there. Sometimes we turn this off and it just looks this way, but either way. Are those the puffy little fog clouds down there? It's going to go right back into the fog?
Looks like it. If nothing else, we can at least see the gas jet thrusters that are helping with slight maneuver changes coming out of the booster.
Yep.
I love when those interact as well with the atmosphere, when you can see them from the ground during a launch. That just, those things look amazing, how they distort the sky and the atmosphere. It's, oh, love it. Chef's
There's our
kiss.
entry burn.
Here we go. This entry burn will last about 20-ish seconds or so.
Yep. And Jack got it. There you go. Jack's got it back.
Looking good. There we go.
Gives you a nice little smoke trail to track there after the engine shut down.
There is the shutdown, and we will see it reignite about 7 minutes and 15 seconds into flight, and that will be its final burn until it hopefully lands successfully at LZ-4.
All right, we're going to get some sonic booms here as well, so I turned the field mics back on. Jack continuing to track it.
You'll hear multiple sonic booms as different parts of it break through the sound barrier.
Look at this. Jack, fantastic job. Look, it's getting closer.
Stage 1 transonic.
Stage 1 is now below the speed of sound.
Stage 1 landing bird.
Great view of the engine ignition there. Standing by.
Back down into the fog.
Well, if that's not confirmation of a successful landing, nothing is. The first stage has successfully returned back to LZ-4.
Yeah, did y'all hear that? Could everybody hear what was going on there?
I don't think anyone can hear anything now is the problem. That was so loud. Unbelievable.
Folks, that right there is a Falcon 9 that is successfully down on the landing zone, only a couple hundred meters away from where it started the day, having put the second stage in its payload for the SDA. 10 satellites headed to orbit on a polar orbit, and Falcon 9 back down on the LZ, doing what it does best, coming home to fly again. How about that, Sawyer? Good grief.
Wow, again, you hear the sonic booms as the different parts go through, and that engine noise. You can almost hear little bits of like the steering as it maneuvers itself down, and I love that not only do you hear the booms, but in this one you could totally hear the whole burn and the moment the engine's cut off after that successful landing.
Wow. It really is. I mean, folks, the fog, sometimes we say it, like sometimes cloud cover or fog enhances the audio and it makes it so you can't see as much, but it makes it so you can really hear it. And today we got the best of both worlds. We got the audio enhanced by the moisture in the air, helping transmit the sound over to us. And then it jumped up out of the fog. So we saw the stage separation, we saw the boost back burn, we saw the cold gas thruster firing. Jack caught the entry burn. You could see the supersonic retro propulsion coming out the back of the rocket, the landing burn as well, all the way down. And then it came back into the fog to enhance the audio again. It was almost like the perfect setup today, a balance of audio and visuals, huh?
Yeah, I mean, again, the fact that we could see the booster so clear right up until the burn, and then just as we lost the visuals into the fog, we got the audio from it. That's perfect timing. I mean, totally planned that way.
That was absolutely fantastic.
Yes,
I don't
major props to Jack on that track, too.
Now, we don't get any more information from SpaceX now, but at some point we'll expect that there'll be a confirmation or I guess a status update of the main mission. I know we all get so excited about, oh, the booster came back and landed and this sort of thing. But that primary mission carrying those 10 satellites for SDA on their way to orbit, I imagine there'll be a Twitter update or something like that coming up shortly. Let's
Yeah.
see.
That's
Hey,
typically what they do with these missions for the military is just an update that it's in orbit, or that's about it. We won't see pictures typically or any other video.
yep. Looks like Jack is going train spotting again here. What do you think it sounded like from the train 3.5 miles away?
Oh my gosh.
Hey, we missed a couple super chats earlier, y'all. Jerwa, thanks for the $20 saying hello world. We appreciate the support. We also got Jerwa did another $20 for the Jack train ticket fund.
There you go.
You just ride the surfliner up and down the coast, hoping like the train schedule you're on gets stopped by a rocket launch. What a thing to have. Nick Quigley, thank you as well. Just says we with a couple E's there.
I think it's more meant to be wee.
We, thank you. You're better at that than me.
You're
and
welcome.
then Sawyer, not Sawyer, actually, SG was the name here. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Jack, it looks like we might have tweaked one of your cables there. We're getting a little bit of green flashes. It's stabilized now. I do know that Jack is going to have to be packing up shortly, sooner rather than later. So we may need to be shutting down the stream here, don't we, Sawyer?
Yeah, the sooner the better. We're getting the go signal.
All right, good deal. Jack, fantastic work today. Thank you so much for the track there. Since we're getting some free green flashes on the live feed, which is the rocket there on the pad, well, that's the SpaceX feed. That's not useful for anybody. A lot of good thumbnails you should click on it, honestly. You see that little blue? Let's go back to that real quick.
Yeah,
You
and
see
again,
the
a
thumbs
reminder.
you should click?
Oh,
There's a lot
yes,
of
there's
thumbs
some
you
great
should click there.
recommendations. I
Yeah,
was going to
Jack,
say,
your
if you
click.
want to see more of the pictures from on the launch pad prior to liftoff, you've got our members will get access to that, as well as all of the post-launch pictures too. But we'll make sure we post a couple of those on socials as well. So make sure you follow us there too.
Yeah, I feel like I need to annotate this real quick because this was actually earlier. ... Not earlier today. This was a couple days ago. Jack took this photo on Friday, but this shows the rocket on the pad, and it just went up, and then it came back down again, and now there is a rocket over here on the LZ. Look, I'll draw it. Does it have a? Yeah, okay. We'll color
Yeah, it's
in
got
the
the grid
upper
fins.
cage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some there right there, and then that is the rocket now on the pad. Actually, we should probably annotate this as now, right? So, anyways, folks, that is going to end our live coverage of today. Appreciate all the super chats and stuff that came in. Last one here, Callum Chamberlain with some curly L's. Sorry, Pound Sterling saying, I love these. Either way, folks, we appreciate all your support. Thank you so much in sharing this event, or I guess hearing this event really today for us. It's always a good time. You know what to do. You want to get back to our coverage. You like our commentary. You think our jokes are funny or so cringy that you want to make your family listen to them as well. Show up to the stream, like and subscribe or whatever. You know how to get back to a YouTube channel that you want to find again. If ours is one of those channels, make sure you click the subscribe button before you leave. And if you want to not ever miss a stream from us, turn on the little bell notification, whatever. Follow us on Twitter at NASASpaceflight, whatever it is. But this is what we do here with NSF, and we always have a good time. Remember, today out there in the field, we had Mr. Jack Beyer with the fantastic acquisition and tracking of the rocket. Jack, thank you so much for being out there today. He may be off comms. He does need to be packing up. Also, out in the field, we had Mr. Michael Baylor. Michael with the AutoTrack didn't have the live feed from that, but Michael reports that AutoTrack tracked the entire thing. So be on the lookout on social, on our YouTube, like Foyer said, member videos and stuff like that. The telemetry from the AutoTrack, that's going to be coming up. And also, Sawyer, thank you so much for helping me out today. Appreciate you. Sawyer Rosenstein, everybody.
Well, we'll see what my picture looks like, but it was an absolute pleasure to be here. You know I love these. Oh, come on.
Sorry.
That's all right. You know how much I love these, and it's always great to see a little West Coast love. And yeah, go Falcon. And I guess I'll have to brush up some more Tranche jokes for Flight 2 coming up in May.
West Coast, West Coast.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, don't start.
West
Southern
Coast was
Launch
good today.
Corridor.
Yeah,
Southern Launch Polar Corridor.
Fine. Folks, lastly here, my name is John Galloway for NSF. Thank you so much, like I said, for joining us. Thanks for all the support and making this possible. Hope you had fun watching the launch here today. Remember, we are not official NASA. That's why we can say whatever we want. We have a lot of fun with it. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you nerds later. Thanks for watching. I'm rolling the music because I like it. Later, nerds.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
Our pressure looks good. Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers can fly!
Tango Delta nominal.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.